Hey Chris, we're talking about game-breaking bugs.
Hang on, it's been ages since we've done one of these. You can't just launch in like that.
Okay, Happy New
Year. You got to ease into it.
Welcome back to the Eurogamer Show.
Did everyone have a nice Christmas? Good, excellent.
If you celebrate Christmas,
or
if not,
whatever you're into.
Had a nice break.
Oh God, we ruined it. Yeah, so game-breaking bugs.
Yes, there was an article on the site this week about Wes encountering a bug where basically he's trying to play all of the factions in Fallout 4 off against one another.
Okay.
And now he needs to get past a certain door in the game, trying to avoid spoilers here, but he can't because it's supposed to be down, and it isn't. So if he wants to progress and finish the story, he's going to have to cheese the game and basically glitch through that wall, which he can do.
Okay, I hear you.
But 91 hours into Fallout 4,
yeah,
he very nearly had his game broken.
Do you know what that sounds like?
Go on.
That sounds like a Bethesda game.
Yes.
Yeah, that is, I think plenty of people have experienced that, whether it's in the Elder Scrolls or Fallout. It's the thing about game-breaking bugs, and I guess bugs in general, is that I think some others were maybe a little bit too optimistic about this new generation of consoles in particular. Games were making this big step forwards. They've got more hardware to work with.
Yep.
So, more powerful machines, surely less or fewer bugs, and that's not actually really how it works, I guess, particularly with anything with like a big sandbox like that.
Yes, yeah. I mean, well, these games are notoriously difficult to test rigorously because they're massive.
Yeah. And make in the first place, to be fair.
Well, exactly. Yeah. And I think you're right. I think there was some optimism that somehow this new generation of consoles, or current generation now, they're kind of old. Mm-hmm. Well, they're a couple of years in, that it would fix this and it would iron out the bugs, especially with Bethesda games, and that hasn't happened. But then, if you think about it, some of the best games we saw for the Xbox 360 and the PS3 were coming out at the very end of the console life because people were used to developing for it.
Yep.
So
that has a huge impact. I also think, particularly with a certain type of game, like the big sandboxes with lots of exploration, with lots of player choice, where the developer doesn't know what you're going to do necessarily. If there isn't a linearity to it, it seems to be a lot more difficult to ensure that there aren't game-breaking bugs. I was speaking to one of the guys at Riot Games last week, who was talking. It's a slightly different example, but was talking about when they release a patch. It's obviously a huge deal. A lot of players are affected, and in fact, in the first hour of that patch being on a live server, millions more players have messed around with it than they've ever been able to replicate in testing, and that happens with games like Fallout. Like the first day of it coming out, it's so many more players are going to play it right then than they've ever managed to kind of replicate internally. But that being said, it's all bullshit anyway, because we're defending game developers, and I think they absolutely should be defended, but some people are going to pick this up off the shelf, not really have this kind of familiarity with how game development works, and they're going to buy a game for 40, 50 quid and expect it to work and not ruin their story halfway through. Yeah,
true. So what's the worst one you've been hit with off the top of your head?
Quite recently, actually. I remember I was playing Crusader Kings 2, which is a grand strategy game, and very open-ended sort of sandbox. You do what you want, and I was playing as a Danish count.
Right.
And over 3 generations, like literally 3 generations of people died for this to happen. I eventually rose to the rank of King of Denmark.
Right.
And felt bloody wonderful, I don't mind telling you. And then, out of nowhere, after playing something like 90 hours of the game in total, not in this campaign, I ran into my first game-breaking bug, which meant that I was constantly at war with Denmark, and I was Denmark. Like there was a rebellion. The game thought there was a rebellion going on.
Okay.
But there wasn't, and I couldn't stop it.
Right.
And when you're at war, it prevents you doing all sorts of stuff, like making any kind of diplomatic decisions. Everything sort of goes on freeze, as it tends to do when you're at war. Mm-hmm. And screwed a complete campaign. I'd gone from count to king, and it didn't matter. I had to start again.
You had to completely start again. You couldn't even just
roll back. I was playing on Iron Man, which is often a problem.
Of course you were. Of course you were. Wow. Yeah. I feel like I've been quite lucky, actually. I mean, I've hit some amusing bugs. Like I remember the first.
That is another aspect of it, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, bugs. I think they add a lot to games. Actually, some of my fondest memories of some games, like Red Dead Redemption, when that came out. Another great example of an open world game where it was just too big for them to avoid bugs. So I don't know if you remember when you got on a horse and cart, and you were driving a cart, it would just rattle.
Right.
like ceaselessly all the time as you're going down the street and start jumping up and down like it had hydraulics. There's amazing footage online of that mission where somebody's letting you into a fort, but the player model had been replaced with a coyote.
Amazing.
I'll find it. I'm sure, with the magic of editing, this will already be on the screen. But that was amazing. And there was one I had where it was in the middle of quite a hard mission. I was in cover, and then I'd killed some guys, and I wanted to advance up to this house that I was storming. And as I mantled, John Marston flew like 100 feet in the air.
Yep.
Dangled for a second, like in Looney Tunes, and then plummeted to Earth and just died. And that was really frustrating. Video
games are different than anything else because of this thing. Like disregarding game-breaking bugs, which are obviously still really frustrating and will continue to be really frustrating, perhaps forever. We also we love seeing games break as well. Like there is part of us that love seeing the latest blockbuster do something a bit daft. Like the Assassin's Creed face glitching.
Yes, perfect.
Has come to represent that series now, and I'm sure Ubisoft don't love that, but we do. Everyone saw those GIFs, saw those videos, and enjoyed them. And I can't think of a similar example to that in any other medium. We like seeing things break sometimes.
I think the closest thing I can think of is when you become that guy who's sat on the sofa pointing out when you can see the gas tank in the chariot in Gladiators.
Oh, I see.
When it turns over.
Yeah.
But everyone just thinks you're a dick because you're breaking the immersion. But the thing is, when a game breaks, it breaks the immersion for you, and then it just becomes funny.
Sure.
Like I've uploaded so many glitch clips from The Witcher 3 on YouTube. Like there was one when I was in Skellige, and I knocked a guy off a boat, and he landed in the water, and then just continued to stand there because that was his thing, and he didn't have a drowning animation.
That was his thing, standing.
Well, I got in the water.
Sort of my thing as well, to be honest.
Or sitting. But I dove down into the water to see, just to make sure he was still there, and he just turned to him and went, "What are you doing here?" And it was magical. I just couldn't stop laughing.
Man, that I love that. And that doesn't necessarily make me feel any less regarding The Witcher 3.
Absolutely not.
It's strange. Yeah, so I guess from that we ask, what are your favourite examples, or indeed worst examples of bugs and glitches in games? From either end of that spectrum that we just talked about.
Your most favourite and your most frustrating.
The ones that have ruined a game, or the ones where you find someone standing at the bottom of a lake or the sea, and I'm a fan of that.
Good. I've got the footage. I'll play it now.
All right.
Aye, raining fucking buckets. Raining fucking buckets. Yeah. Are you here? Yeah. Raining. Oi! Out of me sight. Oh! Oi! Raining fucking buckets.
Martin Robinson, you've just come back from playing Assetto Corsa, a game about cars, and I know nothing about games about cars. So I don't know why I'm talking to you about it, really. You're just going to have to tell me about the game, and I'm just going to make agreeing noises like I know what you're talking about.
You're talking to me about it because basically I'm just trying to get anyone I can and bore them to tears by talking about cars. And unfortunately, you're the first person who said yes, you'd listen to me.